Words in papers, words in books, words on TV, words for books, words of comfort, words of peace, words to make the fighting cease, words to tell you what to do. Words are working hard for you. Eat your words, but don't go hungry. Words have always nearly hung me.
Shout out to that.
This is where this heartbeat comes in.
Words are words, words. Words are powerful, man.
Yes, sir.
But Jimmy,
Yes, sir.
stories of people from rags to riches are not foreign to us.
Absolutely not.
In fact, there are a wide variety of success stories that are utilized to inspire us. They are proof that nothing in life is impossible. With a little bit of determination, perseverance, commitment, consistency, and some strong faith, man. Shout out to that.
Nothing.
There are individuals who, despite of the drawbacks of being in a lower classification of society, have spun the wheel and have used being from the hood, their pain, their losses, and their tough experiences in their favorable position. You see, Jimmy, I don't know about others, but I truly believe people who come from these backgrounds have an indestructible advantage when used in the right direction.
Oh, absolutely.
You may cry, but you still fight. You may not have, but you'll do without. You may not have the capabilities, but you'll still provide.
Sir.
What one could have taken as a paralyzing effect and as an excuse to do less, the other would take it as motivation to do more. We have a very special guest before us today. This man has had many obstacles before him and has had many trials and tribulations, but has managed to stay the course of pursuing his dreams and passions. While wrestling at Santa Ana High School, he was a two-time CIF champion, two-time Masters place winner, two-time state freestyle champ, two-time state qualifier, placed 5th in the California State Championships, and the first Masters champion in the history of the school. Shout out to that. Come on, man. He was also the 1997 Santa Ana High School Athlete of the Year, where after he went on to be placed 3rd in the JC Championships his freshman year and was crowned JC State Champ his sophomore year. He wrestled at a D1 level at Boston University and even had the opportunity to become a mentor and an assistant coach for the school. He's laid an incredible foundation for his family, from opportunities given to him by Ingram Micro, Wrestling Mart, Asics, Nike, and Assure, and so much more. His rock is an All-American. His daughters have had success in wrestling and other ventures. He's a proud owner of the Wolfpack brand, and he's back in Santa Ana to create more opportunities for his community. We have the one and only Fernando Serratos.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome, man. Welcome.
Woo! So, again, thank you for coming to the show, man. Incredible opportunity. We're so blessed. We're so grateful and humbled that you're here, man. Give us a little bit of a background about yourself. Tell the audience who you are, where you're from, your upbringing, and things like that, your childhood.
Well, first, thank you guys for having me. It's a humbling experience to be asked and tell my story. So, I mean, I was born in Mexico, in León, Guanajuato, and my dad, as soon as I was born, immigrated to El Monte. And so I didn't really know my dad in the first handful of years of me being in this world. And he was a landscaper and worked at a liquor store, and he would send money back to my mom, and that's how we kind of make ends meet. And then one time I was about 11 months, 12 months. We immigrated, my mom and my uncle, and I think it was like 5 or 6 of us. It was my 2 older brothers and some cousins. Through the desert, and we ended up getting caught, and wow. they threw my uncle in jail in Mexico, in TJ, and my mom and my brothers and my cousins had to sleep outside to wait for my uncle and the coyote to come out, and we did it again, and we finally made it. And I still remember going as a young man visiting my dad at the liquor store where he was a stock manager, and he would steal some Cheetos and to give to me on the way back. And very humbling, very, we lived in an apartment complex like everybody else, and we shared some rooms with some people because we couldn't afford the rent. Long story short, my parents ended up splitting up. My dad was a big time alcoholic, and He put hands on my mom quite often, and my mom finally had enough one time, and it was like the middle of the night, and this happened like on a Sunday, and my mom packed up whatever we can grab, and we just ventured to. We walked about 5 miles to my uncle's house, which was my dad's brother.
Wow.
And we showed up like at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, knocked at his door, and asked him for a ride to Santa Ana, because that's where my mom's family was residing. And so he drove us to Santa Ana, and we ended up sleeping on the couch in the living room, wherever we can find anywhere to lay our heads down. And I ended up going to Garfield Elementary School in Santa Ana, and didn't see my dad for like 2-3 years until they kind of got together again. And my brother went to Santa Ana High School. Didn't really have sports, with no ambition. I grew up watching the Dodgers. I wanted to play shortstop for the Dodgers, not knowing that you had to like play Little League and do all this other stuff. Right?
Go to camps.
Yeah. So you know, I started hanging out with the wrong crowd, and I mean, when you live in the projects in the hood, like you know, you're
That's all the crowd.
That's what you know, right?
It's the only option.
Yeah. So my mom was working as a housekeeper at a hospital, and taking 2-3 shifts just to kind of help pay the bills with my aunt, and then I ended up getting caught for tagging once I was in Santa Ana. My 8th grade year, getting into my freshman year, I got caught for tagging, but it happened that time. But I didn't get caught until my sophomore year.
Yeah.
And so they did like 2-year investigation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So fast forward, I'm heading to Santa Ana High School, and I get caught, and my mom, like, all restrictions, you can't hang out with so-and-so and this and that. So the only thing that I could do was mirror my brother David, that wrestled for Glab. So my first interaction in the summer heading into high school was just getting into Glab's back pickup truck and driving to El Medina High School for these wrestling scrimmages.
Yeah.
And so I thought wrestling was pretty, you know, I mean, it wasn't something that I wanted.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you put a leotard on, you know, you wrestling with sweaty men and whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm at the wrestling scrimmage. It's called Summer League, and you know, I'm wearing some Ben Davis shirt, some cut off Dickies, and some Cortezes and whatever, and some young man comes up to me and says, "Hey man, you want to wrestle?" And I'm like, "Nah, bro. Do I look like I want to wrestle?" You know what I mean? And I saw my brother, and he was going with his boys and whatever. And then the same guy comes up to me. I think he was like in middle school. I mean, he was, you know, I was probably 105. He was probably like 90 pounds or whatever. So he does a round again and comes back and says, "Hey man, you want to wrestle?" And I'm like, "No. Why? Again, bro, do I look like I want to wrestle?" And then he goes, "Were you scared?"
Ooh.
Oh, the challenge.
Yeah.
Challenge.
So I was like, I took out my shirt and I'm like, "Somebody hold my shirt."
So he was looking for an opponent?
So basically the summer league is people line up and you just call somebody out and you
Right.
scrap, right?
I see.
And so I was all like, "Yeah, how bad can it be?" I felt there was 9 of these little guys on top. He had me twisted. Like I was calling for my brother, "David, help me out, dog, I'm getting jumped." And there was one guy, right? And so he humbled me. I was just like, "Damn, this dude, like, he's a lot smaller than I am. He's younger than me, and he just kicked my butt." And so I went and found the smallest kid in the room, and I wrestled him, and I barely beat him. And I was ready to throw up. I was so out of shape. And then Glab comes up to me and says, "Hey, I thought you didn't want to wrestle." And I'm like, "Well, this dude called me out. I'm not gonna like rank out. Like I'm not gonna say no." And Glab like took me under his wing, and I never stopped wrestling since.
Wow,
Yeah.
man. Shout out to that.
That's so dope.
Incredible guy.
If I'm not mistaken, your tagger name was Ditto?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why Ditto?
We're just kind of spitballing names and stuff, you know what I mean? And it was really stupid.
It was easy to tag.
Yeah.
DITTO.
Yeah. And I mean, it was dumb, man. You know, but at the time, it was the coolest thing to do. The girls liked it. You know, you were accepted by a group of individuals. You know, as I said, I didn't have my dad at the time at that point, and even when he was around, he was more of a contributor than a supporter. You know, and Yeah, so my dad like was very not. He didn't show a lot of emotion. Like he didn't tell us that he loved us. He didn't tell us that he was proud of us. You know, and it was just more like, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about a little bit earlier. Again, when our parents come out here, they just came and became providers, and that's all they knew. They didn't know any mentorship, any father skills, nothing like that. So
right, and it's a trip because my kids wrestle now, right? And I try not to miss any other stuff because my parents didn't really watch me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you guys a stat, and it's gonna blow people's mind.
Wow.
I wrestled all through high school and college, and you mentioned some of my accomplishments. My parents watched me wrestle 2 times.
Whoa.
yeah, man. Yeah.
2 times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
And both times were at Santa Ana High School, where they can walk from the house to the school. They didn't watch me at state or at nationals. They didn't watch me, become an All-American. They didn't CIF title, MVPs, things of that nature. It was always different support systems, the Velma Trevino and that family, Glab, Rick, Laura, our coaching staff, and other families like Mr. Melendez and stuff like that. So it really stung, because I thought it was pretty decent.
Yeah.
You see all these kids, families there buying them T-shirts and supporting them, and my parents were not there. But now that I'm an adult, and the topic of being a contributor came up, and now I know why. My mom was working one job 2 days, in 2 shifts, just to keep the door, keep the lights on and put food on the table, and so was my dad. So I don't fault him for that. Right. You know what I mean? So now I try to do that, and my wife is a big time supporter of our kids too. So I always try to be there for them.
Yeah,
shout out to
absolutely. It's
mamas.
crazy. Now we try to be for our kids, and they don't want us there.
Yeah, they want to lock themselves in the rooms, be them on social media and their phones and stuff like that. So they don't care about our advice, our experiences and stuff. You know?
Like that. What do you know?
Yeah, exactly. You don't know nothing, Dad. So growing up in neighborhoods unfortunately makes you toughen up a lot sooner, right, than you would like to. Now you become a young man. You go into Santa Ana High School. Talk to us about your high school memories and how you eventually transitioned to that wrestling program and molded yourself. Yeah.
So I talked about I got arrested my sophomore year. So even my freshman year, I had a 1.7 GPA. I was still
1.7.
Yeah, I didn't care, man. I was just that butthead. Glad probably shared with you guys that I wasn't the easiest guy to get along with. And I just had a chip on my shoulder. You know what I mean? I was kind of stuck in between of being a gangster, being a tagger, but not really, because I didn't want the smoke. You know what I mean? But I still felt like I needed to be down or whatever. Mm-hmm. So still kind of holding it down with the crew from junior high and whatnot, and then my sophomore year, that's when reality struck me straight forward in the face and knocked me down. So I got called my sophomore year during 7th period to go to SRO, the head office, and so I figured it was something related that I was ditching or something. They were going to tell my mom. So I go in there and there's like 3 cops and an investigator, and then I had a no poop moment where I was like, oh, what's going on? So they brought out pictures of me tagging, and some guy cried wolf and ratted us out, and so they were trying to put everything on me, and they were trying to ask me to kind of get all the rest of the guys, because there was like 5 of us. And so I didn't rat. I just took it in the chin. I ended up absorbing all of that, and they ended up putting me in handcuffs and drove me home. Showed up to my house in handcuffs, and that was probably the first time that I can remember that my dad was like extremely disappointed. You know what I mean? And that was a time where they sat me down. I still remember my dad getting emotional and my mom just sitting there with like a face of disgust and disappointment rather than anything else. And they gave me their story of how we immigrated and the sacrifice that they put forward to put us in somewhat of a better environment than Mexico, And so that day, like I said, it was a slap in reality where I had to choose whether I keep going in the direction where I was going and just be a typical Santa Ana kid, or I chose different, right? And Glab kept telling me that, dude, you're special. You learn wrestling so fast. I started wrestling my freshman year, so I didn't have any previous history or background. So God blessed me with a little bit of talent, and and growing up in the streets, a little bit of some chip on my shoulder, I just decided that I was going to wrestle. And anything that related to wrestling, that I was going to try my best. I told myself, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was just like, dude, you owe it to yourself. You can't be doing this, right? So I committed to the sport because of that, because of the commitment and love to the sport and the success that I was having. I wasn't going to let anything be a hurdle, whether it was grades, girls, distractions, partying and all that. It wasn't going to be a distraction. And I committed myself to wrestling 110%. And it just, everything else kind of just followed suit. My grades went from a 1.7 to a 3.8 without even trying.
That's a big difference.
Without even trying. And my wrestling involvement went from being a part-timer to 110%. Like anytime I can get on the mat, I would get on the mat. Anytime people would invite me to go for a run, I go for a run. I still remember my grandma came for the first time to the U.S. when I was probably a junior, heading into my junior year. And I was having so much success that year that I was wrestling on the weekends, and they had a get-together at my house. And I got up, and I went to the tournament, and my mom was like, pissed at me. Pissed.
Your grandma's
She's
here.
Like, your grandma's here.
Came all this way.
Your dad's gonna lose his mind. You need to stay home. And I just said, nah, mom. I got bigger things to do. I'll see grandma when I graduate high school.
Yeah.
And lucky enough, the tournament got done super early, and I came home. I ended up giving my grandma one of the medals that I won.
Nice.
And then we broke bread. I showered. We had some tacos or whatever. But it was just like, that to me, that was like, that was a sacrifice. That was the not the norm. Like if your parents told you to stay home because your grandma was in town, you stayed home and you helped clean and do all that. And I was just kind of challenging the status quo. And I did that, at Santa, just breaking the barrier, watching an individual by the name of Roger Santiago that was second in the state, and Miguel Valencia and Ron Hernandez. Like those are the guys that I looked up to. Those are the guys that you looked and you were like, damn, these guys are not human, man. These guys are like world beaters, because they're Miguel Valencia could barely speak English.
Wow.
Like this dude was like, I had it, you thought I had it tough. This dude had it even tougher. Right. And so for him to have the mat success, and I'm just like, well, if this guy can do it, I could do it. Right. I can keep going. And then once I started doing that, I just remember that summer going into my junior year, I didn't pay a lot of attention to the rankings. I didn't know any of that stuff, right? Like I knew like there was a state tournament, but I never kind of pictured myself in it.
Yeah.
So we go to the Summer League tournament, and they get the Orange County champions, and they get the San Gabriel Valley champions, LA champions, San Diego champions, and they throw them in this dual meet. Like you're getting the top of the top guys that are like super embedded into the sport, right?
Yeah.
All these guys are returning state qualifiers, CIF champions, state and nationally ranked guys, and I remember wrestling this kid by the name of Trevino. I forgot his first name. I still run into him once in a while, and he was a returning state qualifier for Santa Fe High School, and I'm like, damn, I gotta wrestle Trevino. You know what I mean? Like I was like, damn, I'm gonna get smoked, right? And it was at Rosemead High School. I still remember. And Glab goes, hey, you win that match, on the way home, I'll stop and buy you pizza. And I'm like, bro, you tell me you're gonna buy me food, I'm gonna fight King Kong. And I'm down with it. You know what I mean? Like that we didn't have pizza all the time. So I wrestled this kid, and I ended up beating him 6-4, 6-5, or something like that. It was a pretty decent match, and I ended up beating him. And then that's when I realized, like, all right, I was right. Like I now I know that I believe that I can be in the top. You know what I mean? And then after that, man, it was just like people would tell me that I had like my swagger changed, like I walked a little bit different, and I did. And I tell my kids that. I go, you guys walk like what you believe you should be walking. Like success that you're trying to reach, right? And if people hate on that, let them hate on that.
Yeah.
And it's just like you got to start believing in yourself before anything else, and that's where the magic started happening.
Yeah,
and it just became a drug for me.
Nice.
Like the success, just it's crazy. My daughter asked me the other day, we were at practice, and she goes, "Daddy, did you ever do drugs?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. I smoke pot once in a while, but not anymore."
Yeah.
And I go, "But I'll tell you what." I go, "You want to know what my drug was?" She goes, "But if you didn't do drugs, what was your drug?" And I'm like, "I'll tell you. I'll show you." She goes, "What is it?" And I go, "We were in the Santa Ana wrestling room. So crazy that my kids are wrestling for Santa Ana." And I go, "You see these walls?" And she goes, "Yeah." I go, after a 2-hour practice, Rick Lara would say, "Get on the wall." and he'd blow the whistle, and we would go run back and forth, back and forth. And I always wanted to win every single sprint. And I had a Jose Leon and Gaylord Melendez and all these guys who just had like these massive amounts of gas tanks. Tony Perez, that was second in the state of cross country. That dude never got tired at anything. And I would run and try to beat him. And when I would come back, I'd get lightheaded. Like the room would turn, and I would be like, oh man, this is trippy. Let's do it again. You know what I mean? And then I would just do that. And that to me was like, I knew I was getting better because of that uncomfort, like new barriers that I was pushing my body and my mind to. Yeah. And that was my drug. And anytime I would win another big tournament, I'd be like, now I got to even go harder.
Yeah.
There's a bigger target on my back. You know what I mean? So, nice. Yeah, man. So it's just crazy how everything happens.
Beautiful.
I know we were watching a video last night of like old school 90s Santa Ana wrestling competitions and stuff like that. And it was funny because the opponent had all the gear, the leotard and everything, and the guy he was facing was from Santa Ana High School, and he's in like a baggy white t-shirt, basketball shorts. I don't even think he had like wrestling shoes on, and he was dominating that kid.
We have kids like that now, man.
Yeah.
There's a kid on our team now. I won't mention his name. I don't want to embarrass him, but his mom and dad just got deported. And him and his brother are trying to figure it out, and he's working at the fair, and and the dude's still going to practice. He's still believing in his dream. And, so luckily I have some resources. I reached out to ASICS and I said, hey man, I have this kid and I'm not even asking for free shoes. Could I just get a discount so I can buy him a decent pair of shoes? And they're like, stop it. We'll hook him up. And, and I tell my kids that, I'm like, the issues or the trials, tribulations, the barriers and roadblocks that I had is still there. It's still present.
Wow, it's still present.
It's still
That's
present.
crazy.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And, and for me, I have a super soft spot because I was that kid.
Yeah.
I had people buy me shoes. Yeah. You know what I mean? Donors. I to your point, if I didn't have those sponsors or whatever, I'd be sharing shoes with people. Yeah. Wow. And I see it all the time, and it breaks my heart because it's like, man, if some of these parents just saw how hard some of these kids work,
true,
they wouldn't believe that that's their kid.
Wow.
You know what I mean? They'd be like, wait, what? You work this hard, you do this, you sacrifice, and it's just like. And I think that if more parents were involved and they would see that, they would be just a tiny more sacrifice to support them.
Yeah. Wow, motivate themselves as well, too, sure. to fight and continue to,
Sure.
Work hard, yeah. So, you mentioned him, Coach Scott Glab, man. Major influence in Santa Ana wrestling program. How did his influence impact and help you succeed in wrestling over the years? And what is the one thing you learned most from his contributions?
Yeah, before I talk about Glab, obviously there's a lot. There's a massive amount of support system. Rick Lara, Coach Duarte, Coach Dale, Vince Silva, my college coaches, Steve Good and Carl Adams, the great Carl Adams, and then you have my biggest probably motivator would be Rick Lara. He was the guy that would just push the limits. But when you talk about Scott Glab, there's always one person that sees and believes in you. And he's the one that always pushes you. And then the rest of the support system comes after the fact. Yeah. Glab is like my savior. He's like my second dad.
Yeah.
I don't like we kid with them. I call him at least twice a week. I talk to him at certain points more than I ever talk to my dad, and I get his buy-in or his feedback on a lot of things. But I don't think that guy really understands the impact, not just on myself, but a lot of the people. We were just talking about that earlier today. Mm-hmm. But for me, Glab is my dude. Like if it wasn't for Glab for believing, supporting me, pushing me, not giving up on me, and seeing what what he saw in me, and there is no Fernando, there's no marriage with my beautiful wife Monica. Like I don't have a college education. I don't work for the best companies in the world. I don't have the resources that I have now. I'm not the inspiration that some people see. You know what I mean? I would have just I don't know what I would be doing.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Awesome, man. It goes generations, man. Because again, you went the way you went. Now your kids, and then your kids' kids. Now they know. You know what I'm saying? So it goes deep.
So.
It goes deep.
So. Yeah, it's crazy. My kids sometimes ask, like, why do we do this so much? And it's like I tell them, I'm like, this is how I parent this is the only thing that I know that helped me get out of the ghetto and put me where I'm at today. So I try to use wrestling as a parental tool to teach my kids value, purpose, hard work, dedication, outcome, commitments, just everything, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, if you take not just wrestling, but in any sport. If you learn the sacrifice, the dedication, through output, you know what I mean, the investment, it's everyday life.
Yeah,
Whether
absolutely.
it's a personal relationship with your significant other, a best friend, your work environment, whatever, it's this exact same thing.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to, go the extra mile, you're only going to reach a certain degree of success.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
man.
very true, man. It's very true.
Sport is very important. Yeah, your kids are probably not become pros and everything, but just the values that they teach you, it's so important.
It
You know what I'm
is,
saying?
and when I keep talking about my wife, and she's like the biggest supporter, the foundation, the rock of our household, not just in sport, but in holistically. But people see my kids' success and they relate it to, oh, those are Fernando's kids, And I mean, I have some success, but I'm not like this world champion type of guy, right? Like, but in the community, because of ASICS and because of what I did for the sport and all that, there's some sort of respect and it's, my kids kind of like it but hate it at the same time. They like the benefits of it, but they hate the fact that the target that they get, right? Because they're my kids. And sometimes they people say my kids win a national title or they win this, or my daughter plays in the state as a freshman, and they're like, oh, that's Fernando's kids. But it's just like they don't see the 5-6 a.m. wake up call that my wife does, and my wife goes and runs with them.
Oh
wow! Ooh, man!
My wife gets up, she runs with them, she goes to the gym, she packs lunches for them, she drives them all over the damn state because I'm traveling for work and all that.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, I would say she is the biggest factor of it. You know what I mean? And a lot of people like, I'm in the room. Yeah, I'm doing the motivating. Yeah, I'm doing the technique. Yeah, I'm doing this. I'm doing that. But when you talk about the foundation and the accountability side of that degree, it's all my wife. It's all my wife.
Shout out to the wifeys, man.
One of the most important decisions you'll make in your life is who you marry.
That's right.
That's true. That's so true. So, quick rumor alert. Rumor has it that you were challenged as of for your varsity spot by a sophomore.
Jose Leon.
According to the rumor, you were pretty bitter about it. It was like a big thing. It was a big thing.
I wanted to fight him.
It's like really.
I called him out in front of the team.
Ooh. You want to go in detail a little bit about that?
No, I just listen. Jose Leon was always a special kid. That kid played. I mean, he's probably as tall as I am, but I still I'm a little bit taller than him. So I tell him like he was 4'11". I'm 5'5". Okay, maybe he's 5'4". I'm 5'5". Anyways, Jose played football and he was a running back. And you talk about courage and being such a small guy and going against the top linebackers and getting smoked, getting hit every weekend or every Thursday night.
Yeah.
So I always had a major respect for Jose, and I knew he was chopping at the bits. I mean, when we talk about, you have a Jose Leon, Jose Najera, Gilbert Melendez, as they're up and coming, and then we graduate, and they come in, and they're the next stars. Like, in the room, like there was times that the dude would get me, and I'd be like, "No, you didn't. Like, we're gonna scrap now." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that he did want to wrestle me off, and I felt like. My sophomore year, I didn't make weight at CIF, and I should have medaled. I beat a couple kids. I went to state that year, and so my junior year, Glab was like, "You're not cutting any weight. You're just gonna wrestle what you weigh." And Ignacio Bahina is gonna cut the weight for 12s. Well, that's where I made my jump. And not Nacho. His name was Nacho. Nacho would ragdoll me. He would kick my butt in every way, shape, or form. And then my junior year, I started beating him. And he was just like, whoa, what's going on, right? So you talk about like it turned on him. And so Glab started seeing that, and Nacho was going to be a senior and I was going to be a junior. Nacho was a returning CIF champ and or second in CIF and a state qualifier. So Glab felt like because he was going to be a senior and he put in all the work, and I was the one that didn't make weight, that he was going to tell me where to go. And at that point I was just like, I'll listen, I'll do whatever you need me to do. I'm just here to wrestle, right? And so I ended up moving up a weight class. I won a CIF title. I was third in the Masters, a match away from placing at state. And Nacho places 7th in the state as a senior at that weight class below. And so when I got to my senior year, I felt like, well, dude, I get it. I had my punishment my junior year. I still had success. I've kind of earned my spot, right?
Yeah.
And there's this kid that hasn't even medaled at CIF, and this dude's just being a butthead, you know? And that's what I felt, right?
Yeah.
So I walked out of practice one time because Collab's like, you're going to wrestle him off. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, what if I get hurt?
Yeah.
Like, this is stupid,
True.
right?
He hasn't earned his stripes. He's put in the work. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And in Jose's point of view, he's an up and coming kid. He's you know, Jose Leon is a national champ. He's a national champ for a reason. This dude's like mental game is next level. You know, he qualified for the NCAAs 4 times. You know?
Wow.
And so I can see that why Jose Leon was like, well, I want to wrestle him off. I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? But in that sense where you talk about sacrifice and, you know, and me just having that tunnel vision, I just felt that it was dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean?
You have a point though. Yeah.
Yeah. And Glab was like, no one's special here, blah, blah. And I said, well, fuck it. I quit. And I ran out of the room and I didn't come back to practice. And then Rick Lara came to the house. We had this whole conversation. He had his point of view. I had my point of view. And I told Rick, I said, hey, a lot of people don't know about this story. I told Rick, I said, you want me to wrestle him off? I'll wrestle him off. But it's not going to be pretty. Ooh. And he just goes, whoa, what do you mean by that? I said, someone's going to get hurt.
We're going to scrap.
Yeah, someone's going to get hurt. And Jose Leon is the type of guy that doesn't back down. Ooh. So this is why I said someone's going to hurt. It might be me too, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I went back into the room and Glab brought it up. And I remember standing up in front of the team being courageous. And I just said, you want to get some? Let's go. Let's do it. I think I've earned this, but if you guys strongly feel that, you know, and this is me being a leader, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. If you guys want to do it, let's do it. Mm-hmm. And then Jose Leon was just like, nah, I'm good. Like, I was just kidding, you know, the type of scenario. but then Jose Leon the following year placed 7th in the state.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and then I think it's crazy how that animosity in a room translates to respect, and that respect translates to friendship.
Yes.
Jose Leon and I were at Boston University together.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Jose Leon is the reason why I ended up at school there.
Yeah.
Jose Leon, I mean, he's coaching my kids now.
Yeah.
You know, and we walk into the room now and Jose Leon's like, it's like nothing ever changed. You know what I mean? And it's just a mutual respect. And I was actually just telling my oldest daughter, Alicia, Ricky, and I said, anybody in that room, you should be grabbing as Jose Leon.
Yeah.
Like that dude, pick his brain, man. Like I would forget about me, forget about all the rest of the kids. You need to be attached to Jose. Like, you need to be an annoyance to that guy. That dude has so much to teach.
Yeah.
You know, and Jose doesn't even know it. Like, he's such a good guy.
That's awesome. Hey, well, competition is good, man. Competition is always good.
Yeah. It's healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Makes you work harder, baby.
Loss is good. Everything. Would you, now that you coach, would you allow a sophomore to wrestle off a varsity person? You would?
Yes.
Why not? If he's skilled, like if he's just literally better than you just because of age different, it don't mean nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, so why not?
You gotta earn your stripes.
But I also do see the fact that it was your senior year.
Played
you know, you put in your work, and you know.
Yeah. Exactly.
And to me, it was like, I was selfish my junior and senior year.
Yeah.
Like, extremely selfish. Like, I remember Glad would have to tell me, like, dude, you're going to run some of these freshman kids out of the way. Like,
wow.
You know, because they would go out for runs with us, and I'd be like, what are you doing? Get your ass in the room. Like, you're not a varsity guy. Well, I'm here to train to be varsity. I'm like, bro, you're gonna slow us down. Like, you're slowing me down. You're like, if you were gonna evolve me, I didn't want to be around you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I had my workout partners, and people would be like, hey, can we work out? And be like, no, why?
You're wasting my time.
Yeah, why, right? And then so yes, competition is good in the room, and you know, and this is why the great Gilbert Melendez, Jose Leon, Tony Perez, you know, and all the other guys that came after Roger Santiago, and so am I, right? So I was after Roger Santiago, Ron Hernandez, Miguel Valencia, and then it was Sadie Morales, and then after that it was myself, Jose Morales, Tony Perez, and then that's when we started reloading, and the big guns started coming out, like Jose Leon, Jose Najera, Gilbert Melendez, Alex Becerra, the Becerra family, 4 CIF champs, you know, 3 state medalists, national runner-up, you know, so you know, and I think we've lost that because you know, it's tough. I mean, COVID really affected a lot of people, and Coach Mario did what he could, given the resources and the circumstances, but now, we hired a whole new coaching staff. Thanks to Miss Enlo for providing the opportunity to bring in new resources and the alumni support. Like Cal Attorneys and North 17 that threw some money out there.
Yeah.
And JB Renovations, and we hired a whole new staff, and that love. That fire is there again, man. I'm telling you, in a couple of years, it's gonna be a different environment. I mean,
Beautiful.
yeah, it's gonna be the old Santa Ana days, and what I mean by that is you got kids of stars, like the Becerra family, my kids, Ernie Aguilar's kids, Hugo Guzman's daughters in there. Hugo Guzman was ranked second in the country, failed to make weight at Masters.
What?
Ranked number one in the state, undefeated, and his daughter's wrestling for us now. And then you got the Wolf Pack. We have that reloading that that kids club that we just want to stay title in freestyle, and we got these parents support. And even if we get like 50% of those kids to come to Santa Ana, man. It's going to be like, you're going to want to be a part of that.
That's going to be an incredible sight because you guys kind of laid that foundation and wrestled there. And now to see your kids doing it and take that reign is just going to be a phenomenal sight to see.
It is, man. And it's so humbling. Like, I still remember when my daughter, when my wife and I decided to transfer my daughter from Laguna Hills to Santa Ana High School, and we pulled her out in March, right after the Masters tournament. And it's not something that we wanted to do. It was something we had to do. Just it wasn't working out at Laguna Hills. The grass is not always greener on the other side. And so we decided to take her to Santa Ana. We haven't moved back yet. And I take the day off of school to register her first day, and she walks into the hallway. Emotions, bro. Emotions. Like, I had to walk away from my kid because it was just kind of like surreal, humbling. You know what I mean? It was insane that, she's going to walk the hallways. My kids are going to walk the hallways, go to the same bathrooms that I did, do the stupid stuff that I did in that stuff. You know what I mean? And in those hallways, and just to kind of, it's crazy to me.
Never in a million years thought, huh?
Never.
Crazy.
Never.
Yeah, you figure you just move out and go somewhere else and establish your life somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
And
That was the
here
goal.
you are. You're back at fucking home.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, even my mom I was sharing with you guys, my mom came to my house for the first time since we moved, and not because I didn't want to have her over. It was just, it's a mess. When you move, it takes like 4 or 5 months for you kind of get situated.
Yeah.
And so we took her out to breakfast, and she came to the house, and she saw the house for the first time, and and I drove her home, and she got emotional. First thing she said, "I'm so happy you're home."
Wow.
And it's not home like her house; it's home like the environment that kind of helped me who I am and molded me who I am today.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm so happy for you that you came back, because a lot of people leave and don't come back, and I think it's important that you came back, because now you're going to be able to give back to the community and give what you learned and all that stuff, and actually bring it up a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
I hope so. I mean, that's the goal, right? Like, I mean, it's in, my buddy Alex, my buddy Ernie, and his brother Moises, that I actually went to junior high with, and he owns Cal Attorneys. He's one of our biggest supporters. Forever, he was like, "Bro, you need to come back to Santa Ana. Bro, you need to come back to Santa Ana. Do you realize how much you can do to Santa Ana? Like, you got support here." And I think what I kind of like left a sour taste in my mouth is when my oldest daughter wanted an ESPY. She just wanted an ESPY like a summer ago. She was at ESPYs. And there was nothing in regards to the community that we live in, because, I mean, there's a lot of success there, right? And there was just like no shout out, nothing. And I'm like, dude, you guys have a 16-year-old ESPY winner, and you guys are not even going to give her a shout out? Like, this is insane, right? And if she would have won that while we were in Santa Ana, oh my God. Like
Channel 34, fucking 22, like what?
Yeah, everything.
People are looking for that. The people are looking for something to believe in. Somebody that they can like say, well, dude, I'm just like her. Like, how come she can win an ESPY and I can't?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something to inspire them. And I feel like that, I agree with you, that in the community, and you need more people like that. You need more people that have walked those streets, those struggles, and come out and have somewhat success. Like, I'm not a gazillionaire, world champion type of guy, but I mean, I'm pretty successful, but it just takes a little bit. It just takes that, and so we're glad we're back. My wife is extremely happy. My kids are extremely happy. Santa Ana High School has accepted them with open arms, and even just the community, right? Because they're white. My kids are whitewashed. They're gonna laugh. They're gonna listen to this and they're gonna be like, "No, we're not." Yeah, you are. You know what I mean? So the fact that the girls on the team and the coaching staff and the principals and all this, you know, and everybody just accepted them with open arms. So it was kind of like just it hit the ground running type of scenario.
Wow.
There's always a kind of feeling out.
What if? Yeah.
Exactly.
Just don't like us. Yeah.
You have all this success, you know, state champions, master meets champions, 5th in state championship. But and talk to us about that grit and discipline that you've been able to make all these huge steps and accomplishments. Can you go into detail about having that?
Yeah, it's just I don't know where I saw it, but it was like, be comfortable being uncomfortable.
I love that one.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's when you think about every step of your life. First time you ever talked to a young lady, how uncomfortable was that?
Man, Ooh, nervous.
First time you kissed somebody, how uncomfortable was that, right? First time you took someone on a date, how uncomfortable was that? First time you went to a new school, like from junior high to high school, how uncomfortable was that?
Yeah.
That's true.
When you step on the mat for the first time and you're wearing this leotard and you're supposed to be this hood kid from Santa Ana and you're wearing this like tight thing, you're just, how uncomfortable was that?
Yeah.
Getting your butt kicked and being humbled by a dude from South County or whatever that has his own bed, that has his own TV, and you have to sleep on the couch with rats crawling all over you. That was humbling. You know, how uncomfortable was that? You know, when you ask your wife to get married, how uncomfortable was that? When you start your career, how uncomfortable was that?
Yeah.
And so I took that to a very high degree, that if I'm not uncomfortable, I'm not challenging myself.
Yeah.
And people would tell me like, bro, you work for ASICS. Why do you want to leave? And it's like, it's not that I want to leave. I need more.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I need a new challenge. I need new ways of thinking. I need to re-educate myself and expand my business acumen or whatever. And so as I'm moving from job to job, you know, I move up in my career and whatnot, and it becomes these new challenges and these new things that I got to overcome, right?
Yeah.
And it just that's what gets me out of bed every morning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then seeing my kids have the grit and have the desire to get to that next level, that gets me out of bed, because if I sit in bed and I don't have the resources to take them to the World Team Trials, or I don't have the resources to take them to Tulsa Nationals, or to buy them the latest and greatest that makes them feel comfortable, then I don't know if my kid's going to reach their goals, right?
Yeah.
And I don't, you know, I keep telling my kids, and they hate when I bring this up. I tell them, I go, when I'm 6 feet under and you guys are talking about what your dad did to your kids, I want you to tell your kids, my mom and dad supported us 110%. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And for them to, as we evolve as parents, right? We learn things from our parents and what they did successfully and what they failed at.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why they failed,
Yes.
right? And we put ourselves in a scenario where it's like, I don't want to fail my kids in that scenario, so I'm going to evolve my mindset. I'm going to provide that success, that resource, so my kids don't fail in that sense, or I don't fail in that sense. I fail my kids all the time, you know. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm the best parent in the world. I try to be, you know, the best parent in the world, but I fail them in a lot of aspects where sometimes I miss some important stuff for them because I'm out traveling for work or whatever. So I want them to, when they have their kids, to be like, I want to be successful, but I don't want to travel, so I'm going to do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be resourceful, and I'm going to have the resources from my kids because I want to be there because my dad missed this one particular moment in time.
Yeah.
And so I hope that they understand that everything that mom and dad do, and we will continue to do, is not because we get pats in the back and we get social media likes. It's to set them up for success and to be contributors and for them to give back.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing. I tell my kids, like, you know, give back. I'll share a story. Mario Munoz asked me to come and teach a clinic at Santa Ana High School, and this is the eighth. My oldest daughter was going into eighth grade, and this is right before COVID. So we went to Santa Ana High School, and I'm teaching this clinic, this camp, and my wife writes a check, gives it to Coach Mario as a donation, because we give donations to the school every year. And you know, we're just talking, and I like to do Q&A. I like for the kids to ask me questions.
Right.
And my kids are all sitting in the front, and they're just, these kids are just throwing a lot of questions at me. And this one kid goes, "Hey man," he's all like, "how do you get so many cool shoes?" And I was just like, "Oh, well, I worked in the industry, so you get, those are one of the benefits, you get for some free stuff here and there, if not a discount, so it doesn't really matter." And he goes, "Why?" And I go, "Why?" And he goes, "Oh man, it's time for me to buy new shoes, and I've been saving my money for 2 years."
Wow.
And I go, "Wait, well, hold on a second. I go, let's stop here." I go, "You've been saving your money for 2 years. What are you trying to buy? Like the Back to the Future Jordans? What are you trying to buy? Like, how much money you got?"
$1,200
Yeah, I know,
shoes
right?
and
Like, he's all like, "No, I have $100, coach." And I go, you've been saving your money for 2 years, and you have $100, and you're asking me for advice of what shoes to get. He goes, "Yeah." And I go, "What shoes do you like?" He goes, "I really like the shoes that you have. So I was going to ask you if I can try those on." I'm like, "What size are you?" He's like, "I'm a size 9. I go, "These are a size 9. And as we're talking, I'm unlacing my shoes, and I'm just having a conversation with them. And then I go, "Hey man, here you go."
Wow.
And my daughter's like, "Dad, those are $160 pair of shoes." And I'm like, "It doesn't matter."
Doesn't matter. You're
For
right.
him, like, this is another year that he has to save money to afford a pair of shoes like that. Yeah. So I ended up giving him my pair of shoes, and it's not to brag about giving a kid a pair of shoes, but it's about, man, if I didn't know that kid's story, I probably wouldn't have given him the shoes. You know what I mean? But the fact that this dude did something similar to what I did. So my sophomore year, Glad would pay for our tournament fees every weekend. I think it was like $6 every weekend. We would go. He would pick us up in his truck at 6 a.m. He'd make a round of Santa Ana and drop us off at the tournament, and then he would leave. And we would sit there. That was our Saturdays. We would sit there and wrestle 4 or 5 weight classes, and we would referee for extra cash too. And but the only thing that he required us is for us to pay for the USA card, which is a membership. It was $25 at the time. So me and my buddies, I mean, my mom couldn't afford it. So me and my buddies went and dumpster diving, and we were recycling cans. And so we were based on priority, like who was the best one. The best one got the first card, right? And by the time we got to the third guy, that dude had quit because he didn't want to do it anymore because he wasn't getting any help. So I ended up recycling cans to pay for my USA card. Dumpster diving, right?
Yeah.
And I can't even ask my kids to take out the trash without them giving me attitude. Imagine if they went dumpster diving, right? So when that kid told me about saving money for a pair of shoes, to me it was just like, this.
That hits different.
It hits different, right?
Okay, so you graduate high school, and now you move to the college level, right?
Yeah.
You wrestle at JC, you go to Boston University, you become a mentor, you eventually become assistant coach over at the Boston University. Talk to us about that path to obtaining those openings, and what are some of the challenges you encountered when it came to mentoring at that level?
Yeah, going to JC, I chose JC because, I mean, even though I had the decent amount of grades my junior and senior year, the freshman and sophomore year kind of took a toll on getting into a bigger college. And, finishing 5th in the state, this is what's crazy about California. It's a single one state champion, single division, right? And you talk about other states like Washington that has 5 divisions, and New Mexico has like 19 divisions. Everybody's a state champion in New Mexico. And then in California you have 1 division and you finish 5th in the state, you're not recruited highly, right? And unless like you were the defending state champion and you got upset and then you finished 5th in the state.
Yeah.
So I was getting recruited by small schools and like NNIA schools, and I always wanted to go D1 at any pace, and so I went to the JC system. My coach Donnie Garrett, that's one of the guys that I forgot to mention. He's my other rock. Like you talk about Scott Glab, Donnie Garrett's a close second.
Nice.
And he was my private coach, at Golden West Community College. I opted out not to go to Santa Ana College. I felt like having Donnie in my corner. He was my junior national coach when I went to freestyle tournaments, state tournaments. And so I already had a relationship with him, and he kind of knew what I wanted to do and what I wanted to accomplish. So talk about sacrifice, and that dude was driving from Torrance to Golden West every day, and he was starting his teaching career. He had just gotten married, so the dude had like nothing but love for me. So I had success at the JC level, and then Jose Leon asked if I wanted to go and work camp at Boston University. One summer, Tony Perez and I went, and I thought camp was just going to be fun, but they put us to work. And I got invited to train with the varsity guys, and I had success with, taking some of those guys down. And Jose and I were scrapping, and Carl just saw something and was all like, "Bro, you need to come to school here." And so for me, it was just like, "Hey, if I don't have to pay for an education, I'll go to school to Mars." You know what I mean? Like, just sign me up. And so I did that. And then the coaching aspect of it, I coached a little bit during my junior college and the high school level, but it was a little different because now you're not coaching kids, you're coaching young men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And young men that are achieved, a lot more than you have there. You have state champions, national All-Americans, things of that nature, Division I guys. And even though, we weren't like the Iowas, the Oklahoma States and all that, there's still a sense of pride because of where you come from and your accomplishments. So I had to find a good balance. And again, on comfort, big time, right? I had to find a good balance of not being overbearing and not being like using that power, but just be more of a supporting cast. And as days went by, I started learning. I became student of the game of a mentor, leader, understanding of what when you coach people, or even when you manage people in the real world, whatever motivates you is going to be different. Whatever motivates you.
Absolutely.
And I have to figure out what motivates you and how to speak to you to motivate you, and so forth and so on. You and same thing with my kids. Like my oldest daughter, I can't yell at her. I can't raise my voice because she gets super emotional. She'll shut down. She'll shut down. Yeah. Where Cookie, she's like the spitting image of mom and dad. When you yell at her, you kind of curse when you're communicating to her, and you can see like that fire, like all of a sudden, right? And she like runs away like Sonic the Hedgehog, like really fast and do things, And my son is the same way. Like my son, I can't yell at him. I gotta choose my words properly with my son, and it's just so. At the D1 level, it was very humbling. Like I said, I never dreamed that I would be there, and I'm coaching at the NCAAs backstage. I'm wearing the pass. I'm wearing a suit.
Wow.
And if, it was just crazy because when you would buy a USA card, before they had social media and online stuff, they would mail you every month a USA Wrestling magazine. So I would sit there, dude, and I would read it front and back multiple times until the new one came back. So I knew who was the number one ranked guy at 125 pounds from D1 all the way to junior college. Wow. And I knew who the head coaches were, and I knew who the NCAA champs were, and I watched it on ESPN. So, so fast forward to being at the NCAAs and coaching Jose Leon at the NCAAs, it was just kind of like, wow, dude, this is insane. Like I'm seeing all the guys that I read about, like we're coaching here, and we're at the kosher social, we're eating food in the backstage and stuff, you know what I mean? And it was surreal, but it was just kind of like, to me, that propelled me to, just finding ways to be a mentor and evolve my relationship with my wife and my kids, and even my daily grind with what I do for a living now. I manage a handful of people in all different all over the world, and so. Again, it's humbling, and it's definitely an experience to mentor and coach people that are American. When you have a different upbringing, different world, it's just different, right? So you gotta be super understanding of what they stand for and communication, and so I truly believe that wrestling and coaching helped me to this degree where I'm at today.
Wow. Awesome. Yeah, everybody's different, man. Everybody's got a different mindset, different motivation. So you definitely got to coach everyone different, their own ways.
Yeah, you got to find that, whatever that niche is with that individual, and then attack it, take advantage of it.
And I'll tell you, it's one of the hardest things ever.
Yeah.
People, my daughter, my son actually, dang, you get to tell people what to do for a living, and you're just like, well, yeah, kind of, but not really. But I mean, it's tough, man.
It's not easy.
Mentoring people is not easy.
I manage a team of 12 in an urgent care, and it's hard sometimes. It's difficult. I don't want to. It's the sensitivity now is heightened nowadays. Like if you offend somebody, that's a big problem nowadays. So the way you approach and attack things, it's a total different ballgame.
It's so crazy. I took my mentor Mike Applegate gave me these crucial confrontation courses that I took, and before I started becoming a manager, and it helped me kind of just be sensitive to people's needs and all that. And then you go to, once you start climbing the ranks in corporate, you go to email etiquette classes, and you're just like, wait, what the hell? It's crazy. But yeah, like, I mean, a text message or an email can be constructed differently than having a conversation. You know?
Step one in the email, not all caps.
Yeah.
Format Times New Roman or whatever.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
Roman or whatever the
Yeah.
heck it may be.
It's crazy though. It's crazy.
To pivot off that, your professional career within sales, shoes, branding, it's off the charts. It's freaking phenomenal, man. You know, you started as a sales rep for Ingram Micro, then you transitioned to a sales rep with Wrestling Mart. Then you eventually moved to, you know, Asics, Nike, and I think now you're currently at Oser. Right. How did you get into sales, and what advice would you give somebody wanting to make a career within that sales industry?
It's so crazy. I never really thought as myself as a sales guy. You know, it was easy in the beginning because it was selling wrestling gear. I knew wrestling. I come from wrestling. I knew the people that I was selling to. My customers were friends of mine and mentors of mine. So that was fairly easy. And I failed at some times. My personal friends would call me and be like, bro, I haven't got my gear. I can't order from you anymore. You know what I mean? So it's like humbling and an eye-opening experience. And then I got the opportunity to interview with Asics. And so my first pair of wrestling shoes were Asics.
Wow.
That's, you know what I mean? And you talk about when you have an experience and you're like, dang, I really made it. Like, this is crazy. It was Asics. Wow. And, you know, I got an opportunity to interview and just like Glad gave me the opportunity to be successful on the mat. Matt Donnelly gave me the opportunity to get hired at Asics, having no design background, no merchandising background. And he still believed in me. Yeah. You know, so I got the opportunity to join there and dude, I got to design the wrestling shoes for every athlete in the world. And when you talk about, like, again, humbling and just really just pinching yourself, you know, I still remember to this day where we're at the Olympic trials in Iowa, and I think it was like the second year of my job, and I'm designing the shoe with Dan Gable. Dan Gable is the head coach at Iowa, legendary guy. Like, that's everybody talks about wrestling. It's Dan Gable, right? He's the GOAT.
Wow.
And so I'm talking to him about the shoe and we're designing, and I'm like, I'm nervous, bro. Like, I don't normally don't get starstruck, but I'm nervous. I'm like shaking.
Yeah.
And like, and he's like, Fernando, why are you so nervous? I'm like, dude, you're Dan Gable. Like, so what, you know? And so anyway, so I'm working with him on the shoes, and then he says, hey, what are you doing tonight? And I said, oh, I'm just gonna go back to my hotel room. I found a little burger spot in downtown by the university, and I'm just gonna have dinner. And he goes, no, you're coming to my house. We're having a party. And I said, oh snap! I said, okay, cool. So I go, what time, Dan? And then he goes, here, my wife's gonna text you the address and where to come, and blah blah. I said, okay, cool. So I ended up going with the Ace crew, and I got there a little bit early. Just I didn't want to be late, you know,
right.
disrespect Dan Gable and kick my butt. So I get there early, and Dan opens the door, and I said, I'm here, you know, what's going on? He's like, yeah. So he starts giving me a tour of his house, and he shows me his Olympic gold medal, and he's showing me all these national titles that he's won. And then we get into this robe of the Tbilisi tournament. So the Tbilisi tournament, there's only like a handful of Americans that won the Tbilisi tournament. It's like the uncharted like world championships where not only one representative by country gets to go, everybody gets to go, right? So like the Russians that have the 5 toughest guys go there, and they just make it that much tougher. And the same in the Americans and the Iranians and all that. So one of my coaches, Joe Gonzalez, won the Tbilisi tournament, and he would always talk about that. And so I kind of knew of the Tbilisi tournament and how tough it was, and I never got to touch the robe. And so I'm there standing, and I asked Dan, I go, hey, Dan, can you tell me about the Tbilisi tournament? I go, Coach Gonzo won it, and he was my coach. He goes, you know Coach Gonzo? And I'm like, yeah. And it was like the Step Brothers moment where they're like, did we just become best friends type of scenario, right? Well, at least for me it was. And so he starts telling me about it, and Dan is like super intense. And so he's telling me, he takes the robe off and he puts it on me, and he's jumping, and he's like his fists are going like this, and he's telling me about the matches, and I beat the Russian, and I did this, and I did then the Iranian, I almost broke his neck, and I'm just like, oh my God, like I'm getting hot in this thing, right? And I'm like, it was such an inspirational time for me, and then his wife calms us down, screams from the kitchen, Dan, you better slow down. I told you about getting intense and blah, blah, blah. So I got even scared. Yeah. I put the rope back and I was like, Dan, I think I'm going to go outside and wait for everybody else. You know what I mean? But that's just one of the experience. Like, Jordan Burroughs is a really close friend of my family. And Jordan is basically the Michael Jordan of wrestling, And he came to our house for Father's Day one year. So my kids, it's a blessing, and that's why I hold ASICS close to my heart, because they gave me an opportunity to rub elbows with people that I never ever thought that I was, or design and merchandise shoes that I never thought that I would be even touching, right? Or I couldn't even afford back in the days, and here I am traveling all over the world, going to Japan and working on these shoes, and then having these great athletes just become great friends and accepting my kids. Like Adeline Gray, she's a 5-time world champion, women's world champion. She's like basically the GOAT of girls wrestling. And, anytime she comes across my girls and my wife, she gives them a hug and makes them feel so like, friendly. And my kids, they're spoiled. They don't understand what that is. You know what I mean? Because it's like people stand in lines for that stuff. People spend a lot of money. Like, think about you're a Laker fan, right?
Yeah.
Like, what would you do to meet Kobe Bryant?
Oh,
I think I'm lining up already. They're gonna unveil his new statue, and so I'm already standing in line.
Can you imagine Kobe Bryant texting you and being like, "Hey, what are you doing for Father's Day? Can I come by your pad?"
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that'd be insane.
You know what I
dope,
mean?
that's dope.
So when the Burroughses came over, and he's and I got invited to his 30th birthday party. We keep in touch. So it's definitely, that was the moment where I'm just like, I can't believe this is happening. This is insane. Like every job is great. I love OSER. They provided an environment for me to grow as an individual in my career. Obviously, the income is impactful and significant for me to provide for my family, but ASICS is the one that I hold close to my heart because of just the history behind it, of the sport of wrestling. And, to this day, Matt Donnelly, if you're listening, man, I appreciate you. You didn't have to hire me. You had better
candidates.
that could have taken the job. And he, just like Glad, like I said, he had an eye, and he took me in, he mentored me, and the dude was not very easy to work with, but I learned a lot, and Louis, shout out to my boy Louis, he's the marketing manager at ASICS right now, and he takes care of my kids and my family, and then my guy over there, Grant from Nike, he does a fantastic job, and we speak once in a while about Nike wrestling shoes and all that, and he also supports my kids, so.
That's incredible, the connections.
Awesome,
and as you start to like rub shoulders with these people that we hold in high regard because of their accomplishments and their success stories and things like that, and you start to engage with them and become in their environment, you start to realize, man, they're just regular human beings.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
They are.
Yeah.
They all are, man. But it's just like you don't. I mean, they're regular, but they're not, right? Because their work ethic is just next level.
True.
Like I still remember the day where my oldest daughter was having some struggles. She was doubting herself, and I text Jordan and I said, "Hey, dude, do you mind having a pep talk with my daughter?" And he gets on a FaceTime with her and like has this pep talk with her, and and even having a conversation with him. I asked him one time point blank. I said, "Jordan, what makes you so special?"
Ooh,
What
question.
Yeah, that like I know you work hard.
Yeah.
And like you're an athlete, but what makes you so special? And he just says, "Man, I truly do everything every single day that the best guy in the world would do. Everything. Like there's no doubt in my mind that what I did today from a work ethic or anything investment is not going to catapult me to be the best wrestler in the world." And he's all like, "And I'll sacrifice anything."
Wow.
Gotta have a burning desire, man. Just a freaking burning desire to become great, to become rich, to accomplish your goals.
And all these guys, like the Last Dance, Michael Jordan, the Kobe Bryant documentaries, it's crazy their mindset and what they do, and what they sacrifice. You know what I mean? And they don't do it thinking, "I'm gonna be a millionaire and I'm gonna have my own shoe," or I'm gonna do that. No one knows that that's what the future is, right?
Yeah.
Their desire to be the best is what overcomes everything else.
Exactly, man.
Like I said, that burning desire. How many of the greats, Tom Brady, again, Michael Jordan, Russell Wilson, all these top great, all of them, almost all of them came from poverty, came from a bad neighborhood.
Round pick and shit,
all the, cut from his basketball team, all of them. So you got to go through those downfalls. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like when you don't belong, it lights a fire.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I'm gonna prove you guys wrong. And then and then on the flip side, you have all these guys that are such great athletes that have all the resources and they have a one and done type of scenario. I hope my kids don't end up like that. but I mean, in Santa Ana, you talked about the talent pool.
Yeah,
I mean, I can name some individuals that a lot of people don't know these names, that they don't resonate because they never reached the pinnacle of achievement that the Jose Leons and the Becerras and the Aguilars and so forth, so on, reached. I would say there's maybe 12 kids that I can name that from a athletic ability standpoint were head above these guys.
Wow.
That if they just chose the right path, we wouldn't be talking about Gilbert Melendez, and we wouldn't be talking about myself.
Really?
We wouldn't be talking about those guys.
Oh, that's deep.
Yeah, but then comes in the distractions, the life, the whatever reason, the bad influences, and then they fall off, right?
Sure, and it's in communities like Santa Ana and LA and in these tough neighborhoods, it's like, like I said, my dad was a contributor to our household. My mom was the one that was trying to mentor us, but she's a female, in the Latin community, you don't look up to a female. Yeah, as bad as it sounds, you know what I mean? It's just realistic.
Yeah.
I look up to my mom in a sense that she was my hero because what she did for me and my brothers.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like an inspiration where my mom was like an athletic type of personality or a person
professional.
Professional, things like that. So when you're out in the neighborhood, in the streets, and you're running into guys that have deep pockets, whatever they're doing, they have all the girls, they have the nice cars.
Yeah.
That's your motivation.
That's your influence.
I mean?
Yeah,
that's your
absolutely.
influence. And I can see why kids would go that route, especially if they don't have, they do have a support system, but they just don't have a emotional attachment to that support system.
True.
Versus physical. And, and I didn't have that, I mean, my dad never told me that he was proud of me until his last breath when he passed away, and it's hard because out of all my brothers and sisters, I think I had the best relationship with my dad. I was there when he took his last breath. He didn't want anybody else there. And my mom was in Mexico vacationing, and it was just kind of the scenario that happened. It was tough, right? But it was just kind of like, these machismo type of parents, Hispanic parents that just are not, they don't have the tools to be empathetic, and so for me, it's just, again, learning from what my dad didn't do. I tell my kids every day I love him, man, because I never know,
Absolutely.
Now that we're, to pivot off that, we're talking about family dynamic foundation, yours is extremely inspiring and strong. How have you been able to create a strong family dynasty that's been able to find so much success?
Well, again, a lot of it is my wife, man.
Yeah.
A lot of it is my wife. That fight like a girl stuff, that, that story that, or the journey that my oldest daughter has transitioned that won her the ESPY. We talked about the roadblocks that we encountered at Laguna Hills High School, and it's tough, bro. Like the stuff that my daughter went through at that high school, like it took everything in my power not to put hands on people.
Wow.
And it was just not my daughter, it was my wife as well. And a lot of people to this day don't know the backstory of that, and I won't share too much into it because it's something that it's like, if I would share it, people would be like, bro, I'd
you
be
serious?
Yeah. Like I'd be in jail right now. You know what I mean? And so for us, it's again, using wrestling as a parental tool to teach my kids value, dedication, everything that life is about, right? Some people might say, well, aren't you a little bit abusive waking them up at 5 a.m. to go to run and do all that? Then on the flip side, isn't it abusive to overfeed them and for them to be overweight?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Is it abusive to teach them the value of hard work and dedication and have them achieve their goals? Well, is it abusive for them not to have anything to fall back on after you're gone?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
it goes both ways. And
True.
and for me, like, everybody parents differently. There's not a book There's nothing.
A manual.
Yeah, there's not a manual that teaches you how to parent the right way, how to parent the shitty way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if there was a book, I mean, whoever writes it and has success is going to be a gazillionaire, you know, but to me, it's just like, you know, wrestling is what we are. Wrestling is the foundation of our family. And we, you know, if they had dogs wrestling, my pups would be wrestling as well. That's wrestling 24/7 in our household. You know what I mean? Everything we do, we don't take family vacations because we allocate resources for our kids to go to big tournaments.
Yeah.
And, you know, my wife has missed out on a lot of the top tournaments in the country because her mindset is, well, why am I going to go spend $1,100 for me to fly where we can allocate that resource for our daughter to go to another big tournament? You know what I mean? So when you talk about things like that, like the sacrifices as parents that we do, it's a tough one, right? Like during COVID, you know, everything was shut down, and luckily enough, we had the resources and the space to build a pergola. It was like a 20 by 40 foot pergola. It cost us like $25,000. And we ended up getting mats, and then we ran a wrestling club from our backyard for and we didn't charge anybody. We were best friends with everybody at that time. And now all these people are gone because everything else is open.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just like that's who we are. That's what we stand for, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about developing our kids. And people will say, well, they only think about their kids. Well, you think about your kids.
Why not?
You think about your kids, right? Like, I mean, so you're gonna fault me for prioritizing my kids sometimes, but I'm not, right? Like, I'll be honest with you. There's times where at my tournaments, I don't even watch my kids wrestle because I'm coaching everybody else's kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for some people to tell me, well, you prioritize your kids, I'm like, it's my kid, man. I want to watch them wrestle. If I want to spend a little bit of time with them, what is it to you? You know what I mean? Like, you pay me $100 a month to mentor your kid, and you think like you own me? Get out of here with that. You know,
and your kids need that. I didn't have that support as a kid, and I went to the streets. I went to prison.
Yeah.
You know, I went to drugs. I went to all these things to grab that support from somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's freaking awesome that you put that attention to that. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
and it's been an awesome journey, man. I was sharing with you guys earlier today. People see the success of my kids and they relate it to the last name, right? But they don't understand. Like, I was watching an interview by the name of Jerry Abbas, and the Abbas family are like one of the best wrestling families in the world. And the brother was an Olympic silver medalist, 3-time NCAA champ. This dude was a 3-time NCAA runner-up and never won it. I mean, he had some great battles. But they interviewed him, and he's a good friend of mine, and they talked about almost a similar question of how does he feel as a dad? His son just won his second state title, and he's going to Stanford. And he just goes, it's not about today. It's about watching my 7-year-old son be on his back and fighting off his back and tears coming out of his eyes, and you seeing your son fight tooth and nail just not to get pinned, right? Like, that is what's embedded into my head. And like I said, you know, my kids waking up at 6 a.m. or for them to tell me, Dad, I want to go to Tulsa this year because I want to win a national title, and then putting in the work and me seeing that, or them achieving their goals, that's what's embedded into my head. You know, those are the moments where I'm going to be proud of my kids no matter what. My kids are going to be, I'm going to push them to be great. Yeah. Right. And whether they like it or not, like, you live under my roof, you're going to follow my parental guidance here. For me, it's those milestones. Like, I just shared the Cookie story when she lost in the national semifinals and had that poop moment. Yeah. And now she's a different animal, right? When my daughter Alicia placed in the state as a freshman, Mom and Dad were like, anxiety level through the roof. We had to separate ourselves because it was just a bad juju for everybody. And when she medaled, like, ugly face crying in front of the whole arena.
The Kim Kardashian face.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, the Michael Jordan face too. That meme. But it was just joy. I was so proud of her. There's, again, I share this story. My wife says that I over exaggerate, but this girl couldn't fight out of a white paper bag her first 2 years out of wrestling.
Wow.
Like, she broke her finger. She didn't win any medals, and, you know, she got beat up, and here you are as a freshman, as a, you know, placing in the state, and, you know, and it's just like, dude, I didn't place until my senior year. And here she is placing as a freshman, you know, and you talk about that. And then you talk about my middle daughter that's like, out of all of them, she cares less about wrestling. She wants to be an animator and all that. But then you see her get out of her shell and reach pinnacle, like finish third in the country. You know, she lost by 1 point to get into the finals of the World T Trials a couple years ago. And it's just like, dang, man. Like that's the stuff to
Yeah,
me and
yeah.
my wife that we sit in bed sometimes and we just talk about it, we cry about it, we laugh about it, and it's I'm just glad that I'm blessed enough to have the resources to provide for my kids, that I'm blessed enough to go through the trials and tribulations to inform my kids of what the sport is.
Yes.
And I'm blessed enough to provide the resources for them to try to reach that pinnacle level. And if they don't reach it, at least we have these stories, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you want that. You want to know that when you're gone, they'll be able to face anything.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? That's
Life's a mother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Woo, it
Eat
doesn't
you
care.
alive.
Yeah.
It does
Eat you
not
alive.
care. It keeps going.
Yeah.
With or without you.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And now that they're at Santa Ana High School, it's so funny. So I posted that Instagram post of my daughter Alicia first day at Santa Ana High School, and immediately like things blew up, and I get a text message from Jordan Burroughs, and he says, "The Cerratos legacy continues."
Ooh.
You know what I mean? And that gave me chills, bro, when I read it, because I'm just like, I didn't even put that in perspective, right? I'm like, dang, my kids are going to school and they're gonna represent the big SA like I did.
Ooh, man.
That's just
And let's talk. Let's transition to that, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you're going to start coaching the women.
Yeah, we already started doing. My wife is on staff. I'm on staff. I'm the co-head coaches with Tim Byers, and Tim has been doing an amazing job of, having the girls there. And you talk about another white guy coming into a community of Latinos and Latinas, and doing his best what he can, and he has. He's had state champions, national champions. He had a state qualifier last year, Angie Salazar, and a couple of CIF place winners, Yanni Sanchez. And then you throw in my daughters into the mix. And we actually just got a breaking news type of scenario. We got a transfer in from another school, a heavyweight girl that was a two-time CIF runner-up. It was ranked 5th in the state at one point last year. And when you talk about, like, against that parent sacrifice to put your kid in an environment where they're going to succeed, these guys are driving a lot of miles and sacrificing a lot to have this young lady be in the group. So now they went from having 3 dynamite girls to we have 7 dynamite girls,
nice.
Plus the incoming freshman of my daughter, and then some club girls are coming in next year. So we have some very lofty goals this year, like to be the number 1 team in Orange County, to win the CIF title. Those are our goals, and and with our goals comes our commitments,
Yeah, exactly.
And so, yeah, we are coaching, and it's a little bit more on our plate, but, I wouldn't have it in any other way. And so we coach at the high school, we coach the Wolf Pack, and my wife loves it. This is her contribution to the household, and she runs the Wolf Pack 24/7. Sometimes so much so that I got to tell her, like, put it away, like, be done with it. Yeah.
Obsessive about it.
Yeah, she is. But that's why we succeed, right?
Yeah,
That's
You have to be.
that's
You have to.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that commitment level. Like, we haven't missed one summer practice. Like, I'll give you guys an example of our commitment. Like, so we had like an end of the summer pizza party for the boys and the girls, and we wanted a cohesive environment with the boys and girls wrestling team.
Right.
So we bought them pizza and wings, and we're communicating this to the girls. And one girl raises her hand and she goes, "Excuse me, coach." And I said, "Yeah." She's like, "It's Alexa's Sweet 16 on Friday, and the same day as the pizza party." And I go, "Dang, okay. So what are you guys gonna do?" They're like, "Well, we got to go to the Sweet 16. I go, "Why can't you do both?" They're like, "Well, because my parents won't drive me to both. They're either going to drive me to Santa Ana and drop me off there, or they're going to drive me to the party and drop me off there.
Dang.
They're not going to do both, right?"
Yeah.
So I said, "Okay, how many girls don't have rides?" And like 10 of them raised their hand. And I said, "All right, check this out. Have your parents drop you off at school." I go, we have a 12-passenger van wrapped in Wolfpack and all that. And I go, "I will drive you guys all to the party. We'll stop and get Slurpees, and on the way there, we'll drive you guys to the party." So we killed 2 birds with 1 stone, right? And again, this is the commitment level, the buy-in that we need for the community and for these kids to see, like, this is not just about wrestling. This is about building a community, right? And then my wife went and picked them all up and brought them all home and drove them all over Santa Ana. But that's what Glab did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like us. I still remember, this is what we need to do. We cannot not be there for these kids and expecting to do great things and not be resourceful for them or provide an avenue and opportunity for them not to have a reason why not to go. You know? And so these girls got dressed up. They were looking beautiful, and they came, they had pizza and they break bread with the boys and the coaching staff, and all the coaches were there. my wife took pictures of them, and then after we take them to the party, and they got back, and everybody had a good time. And I think that's important because it creates this environment of belonging, this community of, hey, we're Santa Ana wrestling girls or we're Santa Ana wrestling boys. And I truly believe that was the difference between Santa Ana back in the days and some of the other components or the other schools, right? Like you talk about Calvary Chapels that won state titles. They were, not to talk bad about them. They were great kids and they had a great coaching staff, but there was a bunch of individuals that they didn't know each other. They knew of each other because of their success. Yeah. But they were never like, they never went through the trials and tribulations or the struggles that they did together. And a lot of us at Santa Ana High School, we did, right? You talk about Gilbert Melendez getting his butt kicked every day in practice. Yeah. Gilbert Melendez didn't start at Santa Ana. He went to Century. Yeah. And he hated it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he didn't hate it because of the environment. He just hated it because the commitment level wasn't there, right? And then he transferred to Santa Ana. Gilbert Melendez's sophomore year couldn't buy a takedown at Santa Ana High School. He'll say otherwise, and he's probably going to punch me in the face when he sees me. That dude
we do it live.
Yeah, he could not buy a takedown. You know what I mean? But then his junior year, the kid went to state. You know what I mean? And his senior year, he had a broken elbow, bro. A broken elbow. I have a broken nail, and I'm struggling. This dude had a broken elbow and still was a match away from placing that state. Wow. You know what I mean? And he had surgery immediately that Monday after state. So you talk about like that belief, that cohesiveness, that family environment. Yeah. Together we do more, man. Yeah, and I think that it starts with leadership. And it started with Miss Enlow and the athletic director, understanding that we just needed some change, right? We needed to evolve. And it starts with Pablo Cunningham and him, getting hired and accepting the job. And it starts with our support system of our alumni to donate a little bit of money and give back, And I mean, the support that we've been getting at Santa Ana High School is insane.
Awesome. And it's important, like you said, it's not just about coaching. You got to create that family environment, and because a lot of people these kids don't have the support, so
they don't. And I think if you give them an avenue to feel safe in the room, they start having success, you start buying in, then it's all easy, smooth sailing after that, right? Yep. But the hardest thing is the beginning of it. It's just trying to
get it going, right? Yeah.
Like I had a young lady, we call her Bigfoot. She has a Bigfoot. That's her nickname. And we go to the first tournament, a summer league tournament at Yerba Linda High School, and we're driving her, and she's sitting next to me, and I go, Bigfoot, are you excited? She goes, I'm nervous, coach. I go, why are you nervous? She goes, my mom said that if I don't win first place, I can't wrestle anymore. And I just said, whoa.
Pressure.
Time out. Your mom doesn't even know anything related to wrestling.
Yeah.
Why is she even putting pressure on you already? Yeah. She goes, well, check this out. They sell bolis, the Mexican popsicles, every weekend, right? So she says that every time she doesn't work, she's at practice, it's more work for her mom. So she says, so if you're not winning first place, you're wasting your time. Get your butt back to work.
Get to work.
Right?
Bills.
And so she ended up winning the tournament. She won first place in the Frost-Off division, and she wrestled the JV division, and she won first place. And so she was super excited. And to me, it was just like, this is it. These are the type of kids that we were meant to touch, you know what I mean? And save and mentor. And there's a lot of those kids, boys and girls, And I truly believe that. I hope that, within the success of the girls program and the boys program these upcoming years, and then the Wolfpack program coming in as well, we're gonna get some kids that are just gonna want to transfer to be a part of that. Yeah, we're gonna have some athletic kids that are just gonna be walk in the door and be like, I want to represent. Yeah. You know what I mean? Wow. And we, and it's just crazy. I'll share another story. There's this I won't say his name. He's a little gangbanger kid. Yeah. Rough around the edges. I was looking at him. I was like, I better not be mean to this kid. He's gonna jump.
He's gonna stab me.
He works hard, and he wasn't bought in. And I kept telling him, Coach Pablo tell him, like, dude, you have the ability to be good. You just got to show up. And he's like, oh, the neighborhood, this and that, right? So he goes and he's wrestling the same tournament. Now it's the boys' time, and he's wrestling in a returning state qualifier from Irvine. And this kid takes a beating. I'm talking about, like, I was ready to go out there and help him out. Wow. And his girlfriend's there.
Oh shit.
Right? Yes. So you talk about like being humble. This is like, this dude wants to crawl under the dirt type of humble. And so he walks off the mat and he gets destroyed. And I'm pissed for him. I'm like, God dang it. Like, this is insane, right? So he walks off the mat and he's covering his face and he's like this and Coach Pablo's talking to him and he can't console him. Like this dude's like ready to like throw hands and I go up to him and I go, hey, uncover your face. What's the matter? What are you embarrassed of? He goes, Coach, you didn't see that? And I go, so what? So what, man? I go, you got humbled. I go, this is not the neighborhood. Yeah. I go, so it wasn't 2 of you guys versus 1. It was mano a mano against an Irvine kid. And I go, so you got 2 choices. And he looks at me and I go, look me in the eye when I'm talking to you, son. And he looks me in the eye and I go, you got 2 choices. You could take this beating and it could take you to the wrong direction. And you can be like, I'm never coming back. This was too, and especially in front of your girl. Yeah. Right? Or you can show your character. And your character means you're going to come back and you work harder and you're never going to let this happen again. And any time that the street's calling you and pulling you and you're not waking up to go to practice, remember this feeling, son. Look at yourself in the mirror and remember this feeling, because this is going to be the turning point for you. Whether it's positive or negative, I've seen it and I know it. I know it. Yes. I can sense it. And he was just looking at me and I go, listen, man, if you stay and if you come back every single day, that guy, and this guy and some other supporting cast will have your back 110%, bro. Whatever you need, just name it. Whatever we can help you with, we will do it. You got my word, bro. And I shook his hand. I said, I'm shaking your hand as a gentleman's agreement. This is it. The dude's been back every single day, man. Every single day.
That's what's up.
You know what I mean? And even if this kid doesn't succeed on the mat, if this kid comes 5-6 years from now and he's making a significant contribution to society, and we got him off the street, and even if he's living in an apartment, it doesn't matter, bro. As long as this kid remembers that day and time and says, dang, I gotta support my family. I gotta make right choices. To me, that's a win.
Yeah, big W, man. Big W.
That's awesome story.
You know, lastly, Fernando, what's in the works in the futures? Talk about your Wolfpack brand. We got some socks here. Yeah. And then when are the Fernando Serrato's shoe brand coming out? You know what I mean?
I've actually talked to one of my buddies, Cliff Retwa, about designing some stuff. I just don't have the time, man. I just, I would have to take away time from my family to do that. And I mean, I think eventually, I would love to get back into the shoe game, in any way, shape, or form. But the Wolfpack, man, that was my club when I wrestled. Sven Silva called us the Wolfpack. I mean, some of our boys got tatted up Wolfpack back in the day. I mean, we would go to tournaments with the boom boxes. With Brent Woods.
The tape.
Yeah. None of this MP3 Bluetooth stuff, right? The heavy stuff, like 60-pound boombox, right? So it would be Sadie, myself, and Nacho Bahina, and some other guys in the front, and then we had all the supporting cast in the back. And I'm talking about 40 kids deep. Wow. University High School, Irving High School, Northview High School. We would go there, and we would just put the boombox in the middle of the mat, and we would start stretching out, and we'd start drilling like Brandon Woods, bro. And so you talk about that, man. And that was the Wolfpack. To me, it was just kind of like that was our brand, like that was our gang. You know what I mean? And so when we talked about, and then I had Rat Pack when I came back from college. I started my own club, and it was Rat Pack. And then so when my wife we were transitioning over to Santa Ana, we were kind of tinkering, like, do we reignite Wolfpack or do we call it Rat Pack? And then I think giving the community background and so many supporting cast like Alex Becerra, Ernie Aguilar, his brother, Moises Aguilar, just Wolfpack just made more sense, right? From a community perspective and telling that story. So we rebranded Wolfpack. We made it a nonprofit. We got some major donations from Cal Attorneys and North 17, and we wrapped the van. We got a van. We bought it ourselves, and we've been good. We've been supported enough to rent the rooms at a discounted price at Santa Ana High School, and we got we got 3 classes. We got a beginner group, intermediate group, and then we have an advanced group. And these advanced kids go all over the country and compete, and we get sponsors to pay for their gear, but our goal, is we have a handful of kids that are on scholarship. I talked about earlier in the podcast. I talked about a handful of kids that could have been greater than anything else. There's this one kid, right? He has a daughter and 2 sons, and the dude's trying. I'm telling you, man. Yes, he made a lot of mistakes, but the dude's trying, and in a humble way. Like, that dude asked for things that he would normally not ask for, right? And to me, it takes a big person to ask for help.
Yeah, absolutely.
And especially in that community.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And so we're helping him, and we're donating stuff, and the Becerra family and the Aguilar family are paying for the gear, and for us for my wife and I to have this resource where we can give back to the community, not just give back success, but give an opportunity, open doors for these kids. I was that kid, and my wife truly understands and knows that if it wasn't for the sport, or if it wasn't for a Scott Glab opening the door for me, I who knows what would have been of her, who she married.
Yeah.
Our kids wouldn't be alive. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't be who I am. But the goal is just to not make the best club in the state. That will happen when you create the right environment.
Yeah.
And and our club is not for everybody. Our system's not for everybody. People want hard-nosed wrestling, old school rise and grind type of scenario. For me, I like to have fun. I like to teach the kids the value of the sport. I like to let them learn and then let them grow on their own time. Everybody wants success now. They throw more money in it and they think they're gonna have success fast. And we had people leave because of that, and it's okay. Like I said, it's that's why there's a Del Taco and there's Taco Bell. That's why there's a McDonald's and there's a Jack and a Crack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody has different. You know what I mean? Like everybody has
that's a good way of putting it.
So I truly believe that, the coaching staff, the support system, the environment that we create is second to none, based on the dollar value. I think it's important to understand that. I think the promotion, the social media impact, what we do for these kids, the resources we provide for them is second to none as well. So our goal is to create this tool, this reloading tool, that once the kids get to the high school at Santa Ana, that they're already been there, done that. So when they come in as freshmen, they're impactful. I want people to think, oh man, they're getting another Serratos. They're getting a Becerra now. They're getting an Aguilar. Like the names that are cemented in people's brains because of the success they had when they were in high school, and so forth and so on. So I think that it's good for the community. I think it's good for Santa Ana High School. There's a lot of great programs and a lot of great coaches, but I mean, when you talk about success, Santa Ana wrestling always comes up. And so our goal is to evolve the wrestling club first and foremost, and then to help with the girls program and the boys program. We've been tinkering and spitballing some ideas, like having a dinner duel where we get a team that has a boys and girls club team, and we bring one of the best teams in Southern California to bang with us at our high school. And then we have food catering. We have VIP service for people to watch the duel and have the dinner there. And have a mariachi band come out. You know what I mean? Like a DJ, like things like that. Because and then this upcoming year, my boy Ernie Aguilar, he owns North 17. Him and his design team are gonna do like UFC fight posters for dual meets, and we're gonna highlight a different kid every year, every match. And I think we're gonna put them all over downtown Santa Ana. And I think can you imagine? Like, just think about this, right? Your kid joins wrestling, and you don't know anything about wrestling,
right?
And they come their junior year and they're CIF champion, and you walk downtown Santa Ana to get a beer with your boys, and you walk in, you open the door, and you see your kid on a poster. Bro, you're just like, well, what the hell? Like, it's insane, right? Or a family of upcoming athletes that don't know what they want their kids to do, and they see that, they're like, whoa.
What is this? Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, as much as we do a lot of marketing and a lot of our success has come from word of mouth. And I think I truly believe that it's the what we provide, you know what I mean? Just to our customer level. Nice. I'm big on that, I'm big on making sure we return calls and emails and branding. Like, some people want different things. I'm big on branding, man. Like, I want, Santa Ana High School, like I want them that old school, old English font for the boys, because that's what they're represented. And the girls have, Coach Byers created this own marketing design for the girls. And I want that to, anytime somebody walks in, whether it's a supporting cast or an athlete, that they're wearing something like that, that it sparks a conversation. Yeah. You know what I mean? A positive conversation, not a negative conversation. And same thing goes with our club. Like, they know that if they're in our club, they got to fight in front of us, in front of them. So we have some big goals. We have some big aspirations, and it's just going to be time and money. You know what I mean? Because that's all it takes.
That's so true, man. Jimmy, you got some fun questions for him, man?
Yes,
We got
sir.
some fun questions
Okay,
for you.
cool.
All right, man. A couple of fun questions here. Again, answer as you wish. Question number 1: if you came with a warning label, what would it state?
Warning label. Don't judge my face or my facial expression. And what I mean by that is, you guys ever heard the term RBF?
No.
Resting bitch face?
Oh, yes.
So even every day, my kids tell me, like, "Are you okay? Like, were you approachable?"
I
have
see,
this.
I
I have
see.
this RBF, and
You're like, I'm good.
yeah, like,
I'm
what are you
happy
talking
as
about?
hell.
My sister would tell me that a lot, and so even some of my coworkers, you know, it got so bad at points that I sit there and I'm focused on what I'm doing, and I guess I get RBF, and they got me an RBF coffee mug. But it's just like, I'm approachable. If I have RBF, it's not that I'm pissed.
I see.
Yeah, so
I'm happy.
RBF is your warning label.
Awesome. Question number 2: Pepsi or Coke?
You know, I'm not a big soda guy, but if I had to choose, if and when I do drink soda, it's definitely Coke.
Awesome. Question number 3: if a dog were chasing you, what pair of shoes would you be wearing?
Cayanos.
Cayenne.
A6 Cayanos, because I know that I'm in for a long run, bro. And that for sure, I'm getting bit. I'm not out of shape, bro.
Awesome.
Dog's gonna get me no matter what shoe I'm wearing.
Question number 4: $50,000 cash or 1 Bitcoin?
One Bitcoin. I'm a big believer in, not instant gratification, but riding the wave and see what happens. You know what I mean? Because that one Bitcoin could be $1 million.
Yes.
Never
It will
know.
be.
You know?
It will
There
be.
you go.
All right. Question number 5: if you had an opportunity to have a message on a billboard, what would it state?
The comment that I made earlier, that statement that to be uncomfortable being uncomfortable.
Right.
Or comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's true in every aspect. And a lot of people don't really grasp and understand that until you start like really putting it in perspective, right? Like what I used about the first time you speak to a significant other, the first time you kiss somebody, the first time you go out on a date, the first time
Absolutely.
you're going into an interview and things like that. So those are all uncomfortable scenarios. You gotta learn how to be uncomfortable in those.
Absolutely. Awesome. Question number 6: Apple or Android?
Apple all the way, bro.
Whooping Android's ass.
Don't even get me started.
Oh, you're an
Whooping
Android
their
guy.
ass.
But
Hey,
That's Android right there.
So I used to be an Android guy, right? I was like, oh, I don't want to be just certain apps, because back in the day they only had a certain amount of apps,
Right.
And Android had an abundance of apps, right? So, but when I started traveling international, I couldn't FaceTime my wife because she was an Apple phone, and so I ended up making the transition, and now all my kids have Apple, so I can monitor their stuff. And if I had an Android, I couldn't do that.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
that's that basically.
Sounds good. Question number 7: favorite cereal?
Lucky Charms, even though they destroy the top of my roof, but definitely my house. Lucky Charms for sure.
Awesome. Question number 8: what advice would you give someone getting into the sales industry?
Just that there's a lot of advice, but the first one is customers always first.
Yeah. I'm also in sales. One advice I would give is it's a numbers game. It's all a numbers game.
It
You know what I mean? Numbers game. That's it.
Yeah.
Question number 9: Asics or Nike?
Depends on what you were asking, right? Like wrestling shoes, like right now I can go either or. Back in the days, it was always Asics because Nike didn't have the coolness that they have now.
Yeah.
When you talk about lifestyle shoes, comfort, I would say probably like if I'm gonna go for a big walk or a big hike, or I'm gonna be standing for a long period of time, it would be Asics just from a comfort standpoint.
Right.
But if I'm gonna go make a statement and I want to wear some cool stuff, then I'm definitely going with my Nikes.
For sure. Question number 10: I am Fernando Serratos, and I am.
Oh man, that's a very good one, bro. Let me think about that. I am. Oh man. I am Fernando Serratos, and I am your support. And what I mean by that is, I will give you the shirt off my back. If I truly believe that my shirt will make a difference for you, even if it doesn't, right? But I truly believe that that for that moment in time, I'm making a lasting impact. I have your back, no matter who it is, no matter if it's a kid from a different school, no matter if it's. I'll share you this story. So my brother David is the one that got me into wrestling. This dude passed away about 8 years ago, and he was the guy that went the wrong direction. And you talk about athletic ability. My brother David had the highest athletic ability in our household. If that dude would have just got his poop together, he would be he would have just trumped whatever I accomplished. Yeah. So that dude chose the wrong path, and that dude sometimes slept on the streets and got in and out of jail. So I'm driving one of the moments in time where I was at junior college and I was working from 4:45 to 8:45 in the morning. I would come home and I would shower, and then I would go to school all day, and then I would go to practice, and then I would stay and do my homework at the school, and then I would be home in bed by 9 every single day, right? On top of that, I would go out for runs and do the gym session and cut the weight. I am driving to work at Ingram Micro at the warehouse, and my parents live right behind Santa Ana PD. And so I'm driving like around 4 a.m., and I guess that's the time they let the people out of jail.
Oh, wow.
Right? So I'm driving, and there's this dude, this white dude, not even Hispanic, this dude's standing there trembling. It's probably like 40 degrees, 30 degrees outside. And he's standing there, and I roll up, and I lower the window, and this dude, like, I think he almost pooped his pants because he thought I was going to, like, rob him or whatever.
Bang on him.
Yeah. And so I'm like, hey, man, you doing all right? He goes, yeah, bro, I'm all right. I'm like, dude, where's your shirt? He's like, they ripped it inside. And I go, hold on a second. I got out of the truck, and I took my sweatshirt off that I had on, and I gave it to him. And he's like, bro, you don't need to do that. And I say, hey, man, listen, don't worry about it. It's just a sweatshirt. You know what I mean? I go, it's going to give you comfort for a short period of time that whoever's coming picking you up. But it even if it was my favorite sweatshirt, it doesn't matter, right? Yeah. This kid at this moment in time, regardless of what he did or what happened, he needed it more than I did.
Absolutely.
And for me that is my support, right? And whether it's my kid, your kid, or this guy that just got out of jail, I will support anything in any way, shape, or form. And you know, and my wife is the same way. You know, she'll bend over backwards give before she gives herself. And so
awesome, man. Awesome.
How can people follow you, Fernando, and be a part of the Wolfpack brand and all those things?
Yeah, so I have a social media. You can follow me on Instagram at Fernando_Serratos. And then the Wolfpack is the WC Wrestling, WP_wrestling. So for the Wolfpack on social media as well, Instagram, Facebook. About to start that TikTok video about reviewing wrestling shoes.
There you go.
You can just follow. It's under Fernando Serratos. But you know, it's crazy to think that, you know, I have such a presence in the social media aspect of it. My buddies give me a hard time about it, the Mr. Influencer over here. You know? But it's crazy, you know, that with the impact that I've had in the short time that I was with ASICS and Nike, that, you know, those brands still give back to myself and my family, and they still value, you know, some of my input and whatnot. So, it's great. It's great, and it's not, because there was times where I was getting, you know, heckled on social media. Man, these kids are brutal.
Be comfortable or being uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I was like
getting heckled by these kids.
I went from like one time I had like 500 followers, and then Jordan posted something, and then I had like 5,000, and I was just like, oh, that's cool. And then I just got like destroyed by kids. Your shoes suck.
Don't read the comments. I'm telling you,
your colors are terrible. You should be fired. Like, oh my god.
Well, man, like this interview, you coming onto the platform, is so huge for us, and we're extremely grateful and humbled for you coming, man. Your story, everything you're representing, Santana. I'm excited that my daughter chose Santa Ana High School, especially you're going to be there changing the environment and community there. What a time to be there. And however we can help, however we can contribute, whatever we need to do, we're here for you. We got your back, and thank you for coming by.
I appreciate it, man.
I
think it's important that, you know, to me, sometimes it's embarrassing to keep telling the story, you know, like I don't know, man. Like I don't do it for pats in the back, you know. I never did it for that. I never did it for the dollars. I did it for just to be that person that people can look up to, right? Yeah. And to tell this story, and to tell the story now that I'm back in Santa Ana is even more closer to my heart than anything else. And I appreciate you guys. You guys brought in Froylan and Glab.
Yeah.
And like I said, Glab, man, he doesn't understand the impact and the legacy that dude has impacted not just myself, but a lot of people. And even though he lost his hair because of us, and we would call him Wiggy, ask him about that. He would wig out at tournaments, and we made his life hell. But, you know, if it wasn't for that guy, you know, a lot of us wouldn't be where we're at today. So like I said, I appreciate you guys letting me tell that story. And,
of course.
and hopefully my kids don't think I'm still full of crap when I tell them that a lot of my
they're going to watch this.
And they're going to listen to this, and if it's on the radio, it must be true now, you know. And
exactly.
You know, and anybody that, you know, is looking to get their kid into wrestling, whether it's our club or any club, man, I think it's important. I think the wrestling community needs more positive support, you know, positive influence. You know, and the good thing about wrestling, whether you're a poor kid or a rich kid or black, whether you're white, whether you're Asian, any ethnicity, it's for you. Whether you're little or you're big, it's for you. You know, whether you're female or male, it's for you. Whether you have a learning disability or not, it's for you. You know what I mean? And I think, you know, wrestling gives a lot more opportunity than any other sport.
Definitely.
No doubt. No doubt.
So thank you guys again.
Of course, man. Jim, any final words before we go
Again, thank you, Fernando, for coming down. We appreciate the time coming out on a Sunday. But again, I appreciate all the hard work that you put in the past. Has definitely propelled you, man, to a great future. And again, we appreciate what you're doing for Santa Ana, especially you know, where I grew up and still got family living there. So definitely I appreciate. Keep working hard, baby.
Always.
Let's do it.
Love, man.
Guys, appreciate it.
We welcome you out.
Words are fun. Words can put you on the run. Mots pressés, mots sensés, mots qui disent la vérité. Mots maudits, mots mentis, mots qui manquent le fruit d'esprit. It's a rap race with a fast pace. Concrete words, abstract words, crazy words and lying words, hazy words and dying words, words of faith and tell me straight, rare words and swear words, good words and bad words.